Have you ever wondered what if Boyd never actually weakened the town? What if every victory he fought for made the town even stronger? Because the more I rewatch from, the more one terrifying pattern keeps appearing. Every time Boyd believes he has broken the town's rules, the town comes back more dangerous than before. And if that pattern is real, then Boyd isn't destroying the town system. He's helping it evolve. But here's what changes everything. What if the monsters were never the town's greatest weapon? What if Boyd himself became that weapon the moment he started fighting back? Think about it. Before Boyd arrived, people mostly survived by hiding. They followed simple rules. Stay inside. Protect the talismans. Wait until sunrise. Nothing really changed. The town remained trapped in the same endless cycle. But Boyd refused to accept those rules. He searched the forest. He entered places nobody had entered. He challenged creatures nobody had challenged. He killed what everyone believed couldn't be killed. At first, that sounds like hope. But what happened after every single victory?
The town changed.
Every single
time.
And that's not a coincidence anymore. It's a pattern. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every major action Boyd takes is answered by an even bigger escalation. Almost as if the town is learning. Or worse, training itself. This is the detail everyone missed. People think Boyd is the hero because he keeps surviving impossible situations. But surviving isn't the same as winning. Sometimes surviving is exactly what the enemy wants. Because a survivor keeps playing the game. And every move teaches the game something new. That idea sounds impossible until you start putting the evidence together. Let's go back to one of Boyd's biggest decisions. His journey into the forest. Most fans remember it because of Martin.
The chained man.
The worms beneath Boyd's skin. The impossible dungeon that shouldn't even exist. Everyone focuses on Martin's warning. But almost nobody asks a much more dangerous question. Why did Boyd find that place at all? Think about how strange that entire sequence really is. The forest had existed long before Boyd. People had searched it. People had gotten lost inside it. Yet Boyd somehow reaches a location that completely changes the rules of the story. Almost as if the town wanted him there. Almost as if someone had been waiting. And this is where it gets darker. Martin doesn't simply pass something to Boyd. He transfers an infection. An idea. A new rule. From that moment forward, Boyd stops being just another trapped survivor. He becomes part of whatever system controls this place. Maybe not willingly, but definitely permanently. Because after Boyd carries those worms, everything begins changing. The monsters stop behaving normally. New horrors appear. Old rules stop working. People begin seeing things that never happened before. The town doesn't collapse. It upgrades. That's a huge difference. If Boyd had actually damaged the system should become weaker. Instead, it becomes smarter. This is exactly how living organisms respond under pressure. A virus mutates. A predator adapts. An immune system learns. And what if the town works exactly the same way? What if every challenge Boyd creates becomes information the town absorbs? That would explain something fans have debated for years. Why do the monsters suddenly seem more intelligent than before? In the beginning, they mostly hunted. Simple, patient, predictable. But later, they manipulate emotions. They set psychological traps. They exploit hope. They separate groups. They study fear instead of simply feeding on it. That isn't random character development. That's evolution. And Boyd may have started it. But Boyd killed one of them, people say.
Exactly.
Look closely at what happened after that. Did the monsters panic? Did they retreat forever?
No.
The danger only increased. It's almost like losing one monster taught the town how not to lose another. Think about real evolution. The strongest species aren't the ones that never lose. They're the ones that learn from losing. That's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why every one of Boyd's victories creates a more dangerous version of the game. Now, ask yourself something even more disturbing. Who benefits from keeping Boyd alive? Because the town has had countless chances to kill him. Far more than almost anyone else. Yet somehow, he survives. Again, and again, and again. Luck? Maybe. Or maybe Boyd is simply too valuable to lose. Because if our theory is correct, the town doesn't need Boyd dead. It needs Boyd fighting. Every decision he makes forces people to react. Every discovery pushes the story forward. Every act of hope creates another opportunity for the town to adapt. And if that's true, then Boyd isn't escaping the experiment. He's running it exactly the way the town wants. But there's one moment that proves this theory better than anything else. A moment so important that once you see it, you can never look at Boyd the same way again. Because the answer isn't hidden inside the monsters. It isn't hidden inside the forest. It's hidden inside the way the town always responds after Boyd wins. That last question changes everything. Because once you stop looking at Boyd's victories as victories, a completely different story begins to appear. Look closely at the timeline. Boyd finds the talismans, and the people finally have a reliable way to survive the nights. For the first time, they are no longer hiding in constant panic. That should have made the town weaker. Instead, the town becomes more aggressive.
Why?
Because fear alone was no longer enough. The game had to evolve. This is where it gets darker. The town never seems interested in wiping everyone out immediately. If it wanted every resident dead, the monsters could simply overwhelm them until no one was left. Instead, the town repeatedly allows hope to grow and then twists that hope into something far more painful. That is not random violence. That is controlled pressure. And Boyd is always at the center of it. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every time Boyd discovers a new way to protect people, the town introduces a new problem that the old solution cannot solve. The talismans protect the houses. Then the nightmares become psychological. The monsters smile instead of rushing. Voices begin manipulating people. Visions become impossible to ignore. The danger moves from outside to inside the mind. That is exactly how an intelligent opponent adapts. Most fans believe the monsters are the enemy. But what if they're only the first layer? Think about a chess game. The pawns are important, but nobody mistakes the pawns for the player. The monsters act more like pieces being moved across a board.
Sometimes they attack.
Sometimes they wait. Sometimes they don't even try to kill someone when they clearly could. That behavior makes no sense, unless something else is deciding when they should move. And Boyd keeps forcing that hidden player to reveal new strategies. This is the detail everyone missed. When Boyd received the worms from Martin, everyone focused on what they did to him physically. But the real change wasn't inside Boyd's body. It was inside the town's behavior. Almost immediately, the rules became unstable. New locations appeared. Impossible events happened. The boundaries between dreams and reality became thinner. Characters started questioning whether they were awake at all. That isn't just coincidence. It feels like Boyd carried something back that the town recognized, not as a disease, but as a signal. Almost like plugging a forgotten key back into an ancient machine. And once that happened, the machine woke up. Think about Martin himself. He was trapped for what seemed like an impossible amount of time. He warned Boyd. He passed the worms to him. Then Boyd escaped. But why Boyd? Out of everyone who could have reached that place, why him? The simplest answer is luck. But From almost never relies on luck. Every major event has consequences. Every strange encounter echoes across multiple episodes. So maybe Martin wasn't waiting for a random survivor. Maybe he was waiting for the next carrier. The next person capable of pushing the town into its next stage.
That sounds terrifying.
Because it means Boyd didn't break the cycle. He inherited it. And this is where the entire story flips upside down. People often describe Boyd as the leader of the town. But leadership isn't just about making decisions. It's about influencing everyone else's behavior. Notice how often the entire community changes direction because Boyd acts first. When Boyd investigates, others investigate. When Boyd refuses to give up, others risk their lives. When Boyd believes there's a way out, the town follows him. That makes Boyd more than a hero. He becomes the engine that keeps everyone moving. Now, ask yourself one dangerous question. What happens if the town actually needs people to keep searching? Simple. It gives them someone worth following.
Boyd.
Because a hopeless town eventually stops playing. But a hopeful town keeps making choices, keeps opening doors, keeps exploring forests, keeps uncovering secrets. And every new secret seems to make the town even stranger. That cannot be ignored anymore. The town feeds on movement, not just fear, action,
Discovery, curiosity, hope.
Boyd creates all four. Now think about Victor. Victor survives by remembering. Boyd survives by acting. Those are complete opposites. Victor rarely challenges the town directly. He observes.
He waits.
He collects memories. Boyd constantly pushes forward. If our theory is correct, that difference is incredibly important.
Victor preserves the past.
Boyd forces the future. And every future Boyd creates seems darker than the one before. That explains something fans have struggled to understand. Why does every answer create even bigger mysteries? Because they were never answers. They were upgrades. Every discovery expands the game instead of ending it. The dungeon, the music box, the cicadas, the strange visions, the impossible voices, the boy in white. Each revelation doesn't solve the puzzle. It makes the puzzle larger, almost as if someone is unlocking new levels one by one. And who keeps unlocking those levels?
Boyd.
Whether he wants to or not. But there's one character who may have realized this long before anyone else. A character whose behavior suddenly makes perfect sense if Boyd is unknowingly strengthening the town. Because this person doesn't just fear the monsters, they fear what Boyd is becoming. And once you connect those moments together, the entire purpose of Boyd's journey begins to look far more terrifying than anyone imagined. Now, we arrive at the most disturbing part of this theory. Because if Boyd really has been making the town stronger, then someone may have understood that long before he did. And that completely changes how we look at Victor. Most people see Victor as the strange survivor who knows more than anyone else. But Victor almost never tells people to go looking for answers. Instead, he warns them. He hesitates. He hides information. At first, that makes him seem unreliable. But what if Victor isn't hiding the truth? What if he's trying to stop the next disaster? Think about his entire life. Victor has watched generations of people arrive, search for answers, and disappear. He has seen leaders rise. He has seen brave people believe they could beat the town. Yet the town is still standing. That experience teaches one terrifying lesson. The town always survives. And maybe it survives because people like Boyd keep pushing it forward. This is the detail everyone missed. Victor rarely acts without a reason. He remembers places others forget. He remembers objects others ignore. Most importantly, he remembers patterns. And if anyone has noticed that every major challenge is followed by an even greater horror, it would be Victor. That could explain why he is often afraid when other people become too confident. Because confidence is exactly what the town needs. Hope creates action. Action creates change. And change makes the town stronger. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every major mystery in From comes with a price. Find the talismans, the town changes. Escape into the forest, the town changes. Bring back the worms, the town changes. Kill a monster, the town changes. Find new tunnels, the town changes. Notice what's missing? Not once does the town simply accept defeat. It always responds, always adapts, always evolves. That pattern is impossible to ignore. And this is where it gets darker. What if the town isn't trying to stop people from escaping? What if it's testing whether they're worthy of reaching the next stage? Imagine a maze that rebuilds itself every time someone solves it. The smarter the player becomes, the harder the maze gets. Not because the maze is failing, because the maze is working exactly as designed. Now replace the maze with the town. Replace the player with Boyd. Suddenly, everything fits. Every victory increases the difficulty. Every success unlocks a more dangerous challenge. Every answer opens a deeper mystery. That's not poor luck. That's progression. The town isn't collapsing. It's leveling up. And Boyd has unknowingly been pressing the button that starts each new level. But here's what changes everything. What if Boyd isn't the first? Think back to Martin. Before Boyd, Martin carried the burden. Before Martin, someone else probably did. The town may always choose one person to challenge its limits. One person to carry hope. One person to inspire everyone else. Not because that person can destroy the system, but because that person helps the system evolve. In other words, Boyd isn't breaking the cycle. He's replacing the previous champion. That would explain why the town refuses to kill him despite countless opportunities. Every leader before him eventually disappeared. Now Boyd has taken that role. Not by choice. By design. And, if that's true, Season may 4th not be building toward Boyd's greatest victory. It may be building toward his greatest realization. The horrifying moment when he understands that every person he saved, every mystery he solved, every impossible step he took, only made the town more powerful. Imagine discovering that your courage has been feeding the very thing you wanted to destroy. That would be the cruelest twist From has ever delivered. Because Boyd's greatest strength has always been his refusal to surrender. But what if refusing to surrender is exactly what the town wanted from him? That transforms Boyd from the town's biggest threat into its most valuable asset. Not because he's evil. Not because he's working with the monsters. But because every move he makes forces the town to reveal a stronger version of itself. And maybe that has been the true purpose of the experiment from the very beginning. The monsters were never the final enemy. The forest was never the final mystery. Even the boy in white may not be the one controlling the game. The real enemy could be the town's ability to learn. An intelligence that grows stronger every time someone tries to defeat it. If that's true, then Season 4 isn't asking whether Boyd can escape. It's asking something much more frightening. Can Boyd stop fighting before the town becomes unstoppable? Because if this theory is right, the final battle won't be against the monsters. It won't be against the entity. It won't even be against the town. It will be against the one thing Boyd has always believed in. Hope. And if hope has secretly been the town's greatest source of power, then the ending of From may force Boyd to make an impossible choice. Save the people, or stop feeding the town forever. So before Season 4 reveals its biggest secret, ask yourself one final question. What if Boyd was never chosen to destroy the town? What if he was chosen to help it evolve?